Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil Hat, you know who I am. You know what I'm here to do. Joining me, as always, the one and only XG in the place to be. How are you?
Good.
We have a busy studio here today. Sam Scatterbrain. I want to thank Blue Chew for supporting Tinfoil Hat. Visit bluechew.com and get your free shipment free when you use the promo code TINFOIL. Just pay $5 shipping. That does not make any sense, but that's what they want me to say. That's Blue, B-L-U-E, chew.com, promo code PUNCHDRUNK. I also want to thank our good friends at Lucy Gum. Lucy Gum, if you're looking for a boost of nicotine that you can enjoy anywhere without inhaling any smoke or vapor, check out the powerful, long-lasting flavors of Lucy Gum available at lucy.co. Okay, the product was designed by a team of scientists from Harvard, Stanford, and Caltech who are looking for a cleaner way to consume nicotine than smoking cigarettes or inhaling clouds of vapor. Lucy is a clean nicotine absorbed through the mouth in 3 delicious flavors. Just chew it a few times and let it sit against your gums. That sounds great. Believe me, I chew it like a regular gum first time, and the nicotine hit me hard. Hard, dog, hard. My head was spinning. I like that. Hard nipples, head spinning are in good place. If you smoke, vape, chew, you should consider making the switch to Lucy. Not only does the product give you the nicotine you want, along with great flavors, but you can literally use the product anywhere, and you chew gum in the office, while you're traveling on a plane, Uber, a Subway, or eating Subway. You can even around people who normally would judge you. Use the promo code TINFOIL to get $10 off your first purchase. Go to lucy.co. That's lucy.co. That is the most of the business right there. Lucy.co. Who's that guy?
I don't know, but he looks...
I didn't touch anything. Who's touching wire? Nobody's touching wires.
You moved your microphone. There it is.
Oh, there we go. Well, enjoy that. That was brought to you by Clusterfuck.
Technical support.
We got packed studio. Please go check out the Patreon. It's kicking ass. The Conspiracy's now at the Comedy Store. Everybody's enjoying it. New T-shirts are up. Go to tinfoilhattshirts.com and grab those right now. Support the show. Look at that model. Who's that fuckable guy? That's me in a tinfoil hat T-shirt. Man, I'm killing it. If you like black shirts and you're fat like me, you'll love these black shirts. Man, it really shaves off some of those tits you got rocking. So I love them. You can get them all at the different things. Thank you guys so much. Join me, a packed house, a returning champion. I've been on his show a couple times. He's doing a live show all over the world. He's one of the best guys in the game. His YouTube channel is, if you want news, I say go to his YouTube channel. Please welcome to the show, Jimmy Dore.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Jimmy,
Fantastic.
I love you. I owe you a huge apology. I feel daggers. I know you're a busy man. I fucked up, but I'm here. You could join us for this.
So I left an interview today where I was interviewing someone inside the Venezuelan embassy in D.C., which is under siege right now. I said, I have to go do something. I said, please, we're going to go talk about Julian Assange. It's very important we to get this message out. And I walked in here and Sam says, it's next week, Jimmy, it's next week. And I thought it was my fault because I'm a stoner, but it turns out it is Sam's fault.
Yeah,
supposed to be here today.
I am full, dude, according to the internet, I'm a real asshole, okay? And I owe you an apology.
But no, I'm here. I'm here to do it. My time will be served today, and I don't have to come back. It's like jury,
no,
it's
you're
like jury
banned.
duty.
How about this? You're banned.
Okay, good.
After this, you're fucking done. You're done. Go to the Jimmy Dore show. Get your news there, man.
Look at that, 550,000. We just cracked 550,000.
Wow. Congratulations to you, my friend.
We're doing all right.
I thought we were killing it.
No, yeah, 50,000. I'm excited about. joining us from another great podcast, Don't Die, right?
Pretty simple.
Yeah, it's a really good podcast, and we're going to talk a little opiate addiction, just the drug trade.
The drugs everywhere.
Bob Forrest, please welcome to the show, Bob Forrest. Thank you for coming
me.
down,
you
dude.
do this fist pump with these other guys, and you want to shake my hand? What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So, I knew where I was coming to. I used to hang out at the Comedy Store. I know all the comedians in LA in the last 30 years probably, and I remember you. And I've been on Bert's, I've been on probably 20 of them. And it is really, you guys should be giving money back to Mitzi's foundation. How many podcasts came out of the Comedy Store?
Oh, for sure. Amazing. For sure. There's a reason why LA is the epicenter of podcasting. If you really look at all the big podcasts, they're all out of LA.
Oh, for sure.
We were talking about it before the show. It's just like there's a bazillion white guys trying to make it in LA, and there's only so many spots. So these guys who couldn't the doors weren't opening, decide to make their own thing happen. You with your YouTube channel. I mean, I tell everybody, YouTube, your podcast, that is the Underground Railroad to freedom.
It's the truth, because it doesn't have to be condensed in 3 minutes, and if you fuck up a joke.
Yeah.
A friend of mine's doing stand-up, and he's working on a new bits, and he just went too far with this one thing. It's about Me Too, right?
Yeah.
I texted him like, dude, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
Dude, you need to soften that. And I gave him the
I call that Thursday night.
There's no way to go back on what you just did an hour ago on stage. On podcast, you can covering up with a bunch of words, and nobody's listening for an hour and a half anyways. They'll forget what you said.
Yeah. Well, I just say, what can I say? And then I go up there and I say it. I think the rules of political correctness is just stupid. I think
there's a documentary on comedy and Tommy Smothers, who, they famously got fired because of the Nixons. They were on his enemies list. Comedians, right? They'll still the last people still to tell the truth.
Comedians.
Always the people that tell the truth. And there was a documentary on stand-up comedy. And he said, if you tell a comedian that there's a rule or something he can't do, he says that the first thing he's going to do, if he's a real comedian, is break that rule.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love that. I'm just like, this is fantastic. I wish they would send this to every booker in the country.
You tell me there's a line, I'll snort that line. That's how I am. I just think it's ridiculous. I think that's a big problem right now. Why, Jimmy did a show at the Dojo of Comedy. We're very blessed he does shows there. And he decided to put the show together in like 4 days, and you sold it out.
Right.
That is very hard to do.
It was, people, my friends ask me, like you, my friends in comedy are like, Jimmy, what are you doing with the news over there? I'm like, I'm not really doing anything except telling the truth, because the news media will never tell you the truth about war, foreign intervention, they'll never tell you the truth about the banks.
The drug epidemic.
They aren't telling you the truth, and they make it very easy. And I had this guy, Greg Palast, he's an award-winning reporter he worked for the BBC and Rolling Stone. And he said, you don't have to be a great investigative journalist. All you have to, or even be a bad one. He said, all you have to do is look down the street and report back. And that's not what they're doing, because they're being paid to do the opposite. I mean, look at Phil Donahue was fired from MSNBC for telling the truth about the Iraq War. You think they would have him back on all the time because he got the Iraq War right? No, they don't want that guy back on. That's not what they're about. They're about selling bombs and selling newspapers and getting clicks, which is why Rachel Maddow hasn't apologized for pushing evidence-free red-baiting conspiracy theory for the last 3 years. None of them have. They've just moved on. It's WMDs all over again. They make it real easy for me because I'm one of the handful of guys who got Russiagate right, Venezuela right, Syria right, Libya right. It's not hard to do. You just have to look down the street and report back what's happening. And that's what the corporate media aren't going to do, because they are owned and funded by the people they're supposed to be investigating and exposed.
It's so deep,
But
man.
when you're born and raised in a culture like I have my I was arrested for solicitation to kill the president in 1992.
What?
So I got
You married the lead, dog.
How do I get a fist bump?
There you go.
So
That's badass.
The idea. No,
Explain how you were trying to do it,
please.
though. Yeah, you got to explain how you were trying to do that.
I was just trying to inspire others to do it. I was a rock musician, and I went on stage and I'd say, if you do this, I don't want to say it. Well, he just died recently.
Right.
W. Bush, HW.
Yeah.
So I said, you'll be on the cover of Time and Newsweek. You will be more famous than Bruce Springsteen. Trust me. There's somebody out there. You're sleeping on somebody's couch. Your life is fucking over. and so
You
some
can't
kids
say that stuff.
You can't, dude. We're all getting a knock.
So I was saying it every night on this tour. And for some reason or another in Washington, D.C., these two kids that came to the concert, it was my band, Thelonious Monster, and Soul Asylum. I don't know if you ever heard that band, but two of the kids in the audience, parents worked in the Justice Department.
Oh,
and
my
they said
God.
Over breakfast, there was this guy last night at this concert saying that and they followed me around, Secret Service, and they took me into custody, and I had to grand jury. In front of the grand jury, they asked me all these questions like, what if somebody would have taken action on your request? I was like, oh, I would feel bad. And inside of I would feel like the most powerful rock star in the world.
God, now they'll visit
so
your
the
house.
the point being though that I grew up in a progressive household where Howard Zinn was commonly quoted and talked about. The Truth of America was commonly talked about. Now I work with 20-somethings and millennials. I've tried to educate them about the history of America. They don't really care.
No.
They don't.
That's the fucked up thing. So that's
Don't.
why the news just gives them shit they want to swallow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, the people don't realize it goes back to 1996 when Bill Clinton passed the Telecommunications Act,
Yep.
which got rid of all the rules on media ownership. And used to be we had 50 giant media companies, and they were all pretty big already. Well, after the Telecommunications Act, now there's 6. So every radio.
And now it's down to 5, right? Because didn't Disney buy out Fox?
Oh, right. Isn't Disney buying Fox now?
Yeah, they had to
20th
give up
century?
their local, the big thing, you gotta give up those local sports stations. You own too much of the sports fucking message.
Because that's what controls the culture.
Right,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And guess who's buying it? Ice Cube. Can you
Really?
believe that? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, then you look into
Fuck
the
the
whole...
police, I thought.
Yeah, right.
I thought fuck the police. Now
There's
he
your police.
needs the police to protect his millions.
Yeah.
That's weird, right?
Millions.
Weird.
That's pocket change.
Yeah,
Yeah,
two
billions.
guys from NWA now are like billionaire. It's like shady shit, dude.
Yeah,
That's
two guys
weird.
from NWA. I was just gonna say that. 2 guys from NWA are billionaires.
You can't
think
be a-
about that.
you can't be a-
think about what happened in one generation.
Yeah.
So that's called co-opting.
crazy.
Right? That's when the capitalists co-opt a message.
Yes,
that's what that's called,
that's
right?
Ultimately, it.
Yeah.
So they're selling gangsterism, but you're becoming the fucking 1%, 0.1%, and now you actually rely on the system, and now he needs those cops to protect his
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. Dude, they were put there.
That's
And
so
we're gonna get
funny.
into the drug stuff
Right,
because it
the
plays
drug-
in to the gangster rap culture. We've done a ton of shows on it where it's like, it's like I said this last week, and I'm gonna say it about a lot of stuff. It's like black culture, what it is today, was not created by the black community. It was by very high-level lizard people who decided we're gonna push this kind
Jimmy
of
Iovine, his name is.
right? So you got these guys who like NWA you had all these great like Public Enemy, all this great rap it was called was like dominating. It was all positive stuff. They got pushed out, and pushed in was NWA, DMX. All these guys are pushing shooting, gangbanging, knocking up everybody, and that's all done on purpose because the people who own the prisons own the record label,
Want a stereotype.
and they own
Right.
the drug trade, man.
Right.
And that's where we're at today.
Well, I don't feel comfortable talking about black culture as a white guy.
I do. I grew up on it. I grew up on the whole thing.
I did too. I was always ostracized because when I grew up when there was that reaction to disco, and so people hated but I loved the black. I was into people like Teddy Pendergrass. That's
Yeah,
how.
right.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Right. And so I was back with that. And then and when rap first started, I remember that. Right. So Rapper's Delight and all that stuff. And I was into that. And so I was made fun of. I went to a Catholic high school anyway, but I still don't feel talking about it because I'm not smart enough to talk about it, but
Let's talk about the white community. The white community. There's an old joke. You can go back to 1996 where Chris Rock says that when the prescription drug epidemic comes along, I believe comedians are the truth tellers of the world.
Thank you.
There's you need to listen to Lenny Bruce and George Carlin and Richard Pryor and you guys, not the fucking news, not bullshit
And
media.
Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks. There you go. So Purdue started first direct-to-consumer marketing, which if you're as old as me, I'm 58. I was watching the Bulls basketball game, 1986, 87, 88. This commercial comes on. It's a sexy gal spinning around in a sundress in a field full of flowers. I'm like, this is a new show I want to watch because I was into Dawson's Creek. I'm into any of that stuff, right? And at the end, it says, could cause sterilization, vomiting, diarrhea, or death. And I was like, what the fuck is that?
Wow.
It was the first drug commercial I'd ever seen on television. Direct-to-consumer marketing on television, which they didn't allow alcohol to be advertised, but they allow prescription drugs that
That's
you
amazing.
need a written order from a doctor to get.
Yeah.
The Sacklers and Purdue Pharmaceutical invented that. And then they came along and repackaged morphine in OxyContin, and then that's when the whole thing fucking comes slamming down.
So
Right.
I want to get into what we just talked about. You're uncomfortable with it. I think everybody should be able to talk about everybody. We look at the crack epidemic, okay?
Right.
When we find out George Bush.
Put them in jail, execute them.
You know, so
When it's
the
black
people,
when it's white people, treatment.
Yeah,
let's-
that's great. It's totally true. So we have the guys who are like shipping in the crack. The coke. Everybody's looking to Florida.
All
it's
white
really
people.
coming through
All white
Arkansas,
people.
right? So now you have the people shipping it in are the ones who's supposed to be protecting us from it. The people who are selling it are the ones who are arresting us for buying it, and then the people who own the prisons are the ones who doing everything, and that's crack. I think that's what we're seeing right now with heroin. I mean, with opiates, that we are protecting poppy fields in Afghanistan.
for sure.
They're shipping it in, they're selling it to us, but I think this is what they did to the black
But
community
there's
with
more-
crack. They're
but
doing it
there's-
with heroin.
Yeah, there's more people at the table now because there's so much profit and everybody knows it. And Chris's bit in the late 90s was, I think the white people saw how much money the black and brown people were making off of off of drugs and said, we got to get the money back in the hands of the white people where it belongs.
Yeah.
That's what Purdue Pharmaceutical is. Makes no mistake. OxyContin and heroin are the same fucking thing. It's just a matter of how fast it hits your system and how long it stays in it.
Really?
That's the only
So
difference.
I was lucky. I was never prescribed OxyContin or whatever, any of those. I was
Yeah.
I was always a Vicodin guy, which Vicodin
Yeah, it
is
takes
very
a million
mild.
of them. It takes a million.
Very to me it's very strong Vicodin because you can put a hole in my jaw and I can take a Vicodin and I won't feel it.
Yeah.
But it didn't make me addicted. Like I took them for a while because I had a bone thing, and so for years I took Vicodin. But as soon as I didn't need them, I walked right away from it. It didn't fuck me up. So I was just thankful that I never had a doctor. Why a doctor didn't prescribe me OxyContin, I have no idea. But that's the thing that kills people. That gets you hooked.
Well, what gets you hooked is hopelessness and helplessness. When you
Yes.
look at the opiate crisis, it's the Rust Belt, it's Trump land, it's West Virginia, where coal jobs apparently
There's
are
no
coming
jobs
back.
to those people.
Apparently, that's the hope of the future. Ohio, right? Why don't we talk about jobs that are going to go away because of this
Everything.
thing?
Well, that's a big part of it. I mean, if you look at jobs in like
It's jobs
urban
and multi-generational
place, pulled out.
poverty. Where the biggest drug epidemics happen, the one you're talking about, in the urban areas and multi-generational poverty, hopelessness and helplessness. That's the crack epidemic. This was the same thing in the white people's version of the hood.
Yep.
Right. And if you want to go all conspiracy, you want to go all tinfoil
It's
hat.
tinfoil hat.
It's just thinning of the herd. We got too many poor people.
Extinction.
Will you
event,
go
they
that
call it.
far?
Oh yeah, big time,
Oh,
dude.
yeah, we go flat Earth.
I mean, we're talking 5G here. I mean, like, you see these towers going up when the 5G hits, man. They're already having problems. They put a 5G near.
Does it
a
really
school.
matter that 72,000 poor people die every year in America off of OxyContin? Not really. Not to Purdue Pharmaceuticals, it doesn't. Not to powers that the structure that be, right? It'd be probably better if they were in prison so we could make a lot of money off them being institutionalized. But what can you do with poor people?
What can you do, dude? I mean, like,
You can raise them up
yeah, for sure.
and empower them, but it takes all of us standing
know-
together and saying, fuck this shit.
Do you know what that would do to the prison labor system? Come on, dude. We have a prison labor system. That is the backbone of capitalism. It always has been.
Right.
Prison labor. It started with slavery, and now it's just prisoners.
Yeah.
So they got the new Jim Crow. They got rid of that. Now, we just take black and brown people. We put them in prison at a much, much higher, 16-1, I think,
Yeah.
higher rates than white people committing the same crimes. So now and then they put them to work for companies for free. They're slaves. It's the modern day
So
slavery.
when you tell your friends America is a racist society, what they say, no, not really.
Isn't that
I'm not racist.
like even Republicans admit that the criminal justice system is unbelievably racist.
That's because Kushner's dad went to jail. That's all.
And then 50 of the people in there are all for drugs or nonviolent
That's
offenses.
right. So you make these drugs, crimes,
Yeah.
these, way worse than rape, even, right? So you get caught with it's a good thing, if you get caught raping somebody, don't have a joint in in your pocket, because if you'll get a real sentence if you get a joint in your pocket. So it's that is really what's happening. Yeah, we live in a racist society. People don't realize it. Wait a minute, we had a black guy that was in charge of the Justice Department. Yeah, he came from Wall Street. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with class.
Yeah,
Yes,
100%.
right.
Dude.
And that's what this opiate crisis was. It was a leveling of that white multi-generational poverty class. They were ripe. When you look at what Purdue did, they distributed millions and millions of doses of OxyContin into Huntington, West Virginia, Lakeside, Ohio. There was enough OxyContin to kill the whole city of Huntington, West Virginia every month. because, and this is what Purdue's inside thing, and that's why I hope all of them go to jail, but I doubt they will, is they called it diverting. We understand that these bad addicts might divert some of this medication. They fucking knew. Diversion means sell it on the street. It's a nice way of saying...
How do you think guns get into the bad access?
Diversion.
There's a van there that just happens to be there full of guns. Why is it there? Because the people who sell the guns put the guns there.
Yeah.
It's 100% done on purpose.
So what do we do? That's a question people turn to me like, what do you do?
Let's unpackage this real quick.
I
We're
think
getting to
pot's
the
the
solution.
solution to the opiate crisis.
We'll get into that. I want to get into that. So we did an episode earlier about how basically the power structure of the United States was basically constructed by the opium dealing families. I mean, if you look at all the Ivy League schools, they were all each one was started by a different
Rothschild
opium thing. Like the Russells, who were a famous opium dealing family, worked with the British India Company. They created the skull and crossbones. So what they did was they created something that would give their children, their family, a head up on everybody. Everybody who graduates from the skull and crossbones basically got the equivalent of that time of $200,000 of today. Okay.
That's like living in Saudi Arabia now.
100%. So now that you got these guys, we create this, like our Supreme Court is all Yale and Harvard people.
Right.
It is everybody. Listen, it's a conspiracy thing. These people run the world. These people run. It's not, dude.
Obama's entire cabinet came from a single email from Citicorp. This isn't a conspiracy theory. These are facts revealed by Julian Assange.
Yes.
Which is why they want to kill him.
Yes. Which is, I have a crazy theory for you too, though. We'll get into that later. But so basically, if you know, in China, to deal drugs is a capital offense.
Iran too.
Yeah.
And there's very little drug problems there.
And the reason that
so
is.
if it's a disease, how does it get rectified by saying anybody that has it we kill, and then everyone else stops taking it?
Well, the reason they did
Do you
that.
understand? I don't think it's a disease.
The British.
Well, I mean, you can control people's behavior in a totalitarian system. That doesn't mean that there are.
You can't stop them from having cancer. The American Medical Association says addiction is a disease just like cancer. No, it's not, because if you held a gun to somebody's head and said, I'll kill you if you got cancer, they can't stop from having cancer. But you can stop people from doing drugs.
I think it's an illness, not a disease.
Yeah, it's like
I think it's a different. It's
I think it's
as
an
a guy who
illness of
struggled with drugs.
hopelessness. I think
it's an illness. It's a mental illness.
Here's a way of looking at it. I think it's a disease of hopelessness and helplessness and a lack of resiliency. So if you're like the ideas of Ice Cube came from a little better background, but Dr. Dre came from the hood in poverty. Right? Look where he is now.
Right.
The addict populations that you see in the Rust Belt and multi-generationally in the hood from the crack epidemic, they don't have that belief that good things are possible. Right? So there's something inherent in that population that just gives up and just becomes,
it's
systematic. The system
So you're saying that you're saying it's because they give up? That's why they're the way they are, not because of systemic economic racism?
Yes, there's that machine on top. But why do only some people in that population get caught up in it?
Some?
Yeah. 2/3, let's say. So say why the other third rises up?
It's the
what
exact,
is it the difference?
Well, no, it's not a third even. It's the exact opposite. They point to people like Obama or Dre, and they say, "Look, they did it, so why can't you?" Well, they're the fucking exception, right? Most people can't do it, and that's the big lie of capitalism.
And there is something that they basically agree to play ball. I mean,
course.
there's a reason why Snoop Dogg is doing shows with Martha Stewart. You know, he was on trial for murder, and he got on. No one knew how he got off. Everyone's like, how the fuck
Everybody
did this
forgot
guy?
he was on trial for murder, too.
And now he's hosting the Kids' Choice Awards, and all this stuff is
know.
it's all systematically done.
Yeah.
They look at Snoop Dogg, they're like, I want to be like. They find he's a Crip. It's like it's all done on purpose. And what I think you were alluding to, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you say that people give up hope, like the crack epidemic was, let's get the male figure out of the family. Lock them in jail. These mothers have to raise these kids by themselves, and there's no male authority, and it's just chaos.
Decimate.
And that's what's
Decimate.
happening in the
Here's
white
an
community
interesting
right now.
thing. If you want to go conspiracy route, I'm getting the drift of where you're going. Where the crack epidemics happen, you ever been back there now?
No.
It's all gentrified. All northern Washington, D.C., all the Bronx. It's all gentrified. Maybe they just wanted those people out of there so
So do
they
you
could
think that's what's
raise
gonna
the
happen? People say that's
Look
what
at, he's getting excited.
people say because of Flint. They say that's the same thing. They want those people out of there. They want to turn Flint into condos and shit like that. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's, but that certainly makes sense.
You know, it's very interesting. You remember that giant tower that burned recently in
The Glenville Tower.
Yeah. And they were trying to get all those people out. And they're like, okay, you know what, Whew, gone. They were told to stay in. Listen,
Yeah,
dude.
I know. They told
They
them
were
to stay
told to
in.
stay, go
I
back to
know.
your apartments, man.
When the
fire?
building was on
yes.
fire?
Fire?
Yes, they were told to go back into the building. That's all about regentrification. Now, here's where I get weird.
Well, wait a minute, though. You had the same reaction I had. Like, somebody tells me to go back in the apartment when the building's on fire. Fuck you.
How many
Fuck
fire? How many
you.
fire drills did we have? How many fire drills do we have? And the first thing is get the fuck out. That's the first thing I remember. Get the
So
fuck
why
out.
would see? It's like sheep. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
well,
saying.
I mean,
is
like, here's the thing, dude. People are saying, oh, people are so much dumber now. No, people are just, they're just, their brains are
Bombarded.
polluted with useless knowledge, okay? So, like, Russian peasants of the 1500s weren't worried about, like, who Kim Kardashian's banging right now. They are, listen,
What
Obama
about
passes
Jesus?
a
You can't
role-
forget Jesus in all this, can you?
No, we're getting Jesus. He was I got in trouble last week for saying every time the church gets fucking busted diddly
How about the
kids, we
sex
burn down
nuns?
another church.
Listen to me about the Catholic Church. Listen to me. First, we all know the pedophilism, and then the kind of debauchery that happened. Now they have nuns as sex slaves, and people still believe in this bullshit.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to me.
Well,
It's
dude,
kind of a-
we are a country
They
that's
have
suffering
sex
from
slaves.
Stockholm syndrome.
There's lots of comedians.
Are you looking
who
it up?
defend religion.
What?
There's lots of comedians who, in their act on stage,
Lenny Bruce, Lenny Bruce.
defend religion.
Oh yeah, there's a million
which is
people that
mind
do.
blowing to me. Like the whole point you become a comedian is because you want to be an outsider and you want to throw spitballs at the establishment. Why would you use your comedy to prop
Here
up
it
the
is.
fucking thing that is a big group
Sex
thing?
sex slaves, dude. And these people go there and
Dude,
take a little
absolute
wafer
power
and put it in their
absolutely
mouth.
corrupts.
They
It's
put it in their
100%.
mouth and they think it's the body of Jesus.
And wine and the blood and the blood.
Yeah, man. I mean,
So-
dude.
A transmutation, or that's the word. I grew up Catholic, and we were taught that it doesn't symbolically become the body
It
of blood.
is the
it
body of
literally
Christ.
becomes the body of Christ.
Where did you go to school?
I
I
went
went-
Catholic in Chicago.
I went here in Culver City at St. Augustine's, and when my first time I got it, I took it out of my mouth, like looking at it, like it doesn't look like flesh to me.
It ain't bleeding.
And how gross that they
Where's
want
the blood?
that it's a cannibal ceremony.
It really is.
It's great. It's a death cult. The whole thing is a torture instrument. You walk in it all day. It's weird. It's a whole weird thing.
Santa Claus is a weird thing. You ever look into Santa Claus? That's blackmail, dog.
Santa Claus
Your
comes from
parents
Denmark.
Blackmail you. Hold on. Your parents blackmail you into acting good, and if you don't act good, this mystical creature comes and passes on you and gives all the other kids good toys.
Do you know
It's
about
blackmail.
it? Do you
And
know
everybody's
about the
supposed to
truth of
agree.
The root of it?
Mushrooms.
There's these little black guys that go around with him. It started. Look that shit up. God damn! I got to be a part of this show. I know all this.
You're on. You're on.
Look up because it's from Holland, and there's this guy that comes with his black helpers.
Oh, yeah, they got in big trouble for that. The actual story of Santa Claus is based on these Nordic countries and how the shaman, I do a joke about my act about how the shaman in the winter would come to your
different
house
name.
on a sleigh, and he'd enter, because the snow was so high, he'd go through the window, And you would be sitting in your living room. He'd eat the shrooms, trip balls, and the miracle of Christmas was this guy tripping balls in your living room. And I go, how much better would church be on shrooms? Because you know what you don't want to do on shrooms? Fuck kids. That's what you don't want to do. Ever try to jerk off while you're fucking on shrooms? It's like, we get it burning. It's like dead weight, bro.
Actually, have you not? I've been on LSD at church. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Have you done LSD at church?
I've never done LSD.
Ever?
Oh, I was there for hours. It was beautiful.
I did mushrooms at my friend's memorial. It was Kevin, known as WeHo Jesus, and he had passed away. And I thought, what a great time to do shrooms and talk to God at the death of his gay son. So I went there. I was just tripping balls at my friend's memorial. You know,
I've taken mushrooms maybe 3 or 4 times.
I love
and
them.
that's it. I just
No acid.
no. I'm afraid of acid. I'm afraid that something bad will happen to me.
my whole thing, if you want to commit suicide, all I ask is that 1, you don't do it, and 2, try shrooms. Just try shrooms before you're about to do whatever
Try
you do.
pot.
Eat some shrooms and just talk to God for a second. Dude, every time I've ever done shrooms.
How much have you ate? Like a good amount? Like an eighth?
No, I don't go that crazy, but the times I've done it back in the past, I've always come out of it going, okay, everything's going to be all right.
See, drugs used to be a rite of passage for multi-generationally since they kind of came along in the rock and roll era. People took drugs and it was a rite of passage. Everybody did it. Everybody did shrooms. Everybody, even in my generation, took heroin. You didn't become addicted to it. There was only a certain part of the population that became addicted to it. But this opiate epidemic is different than that. The opiate population traditionally in America was 0.3%. Only 0.3% of the people were heroin addicts and then got on methadone. I was one of them. And I introduced every girlfriend I had to it, every person I knew. I was a big promoter of
kid,
heroin.
try this cool thing. It's called heroin.
No, I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And so you want to share that with your friends. As soon as they got away from me, they didn't take it anymore. Now with this opiate crisis that started to happen in the new millennial, it's crazy how much a percentage
Do you know what the
of the
percentage
population.
is? Do you know what
Well,
it is?
it went from the overall addiction thing they believe now is 17 to 20% of the population are addicted to
Something?
mind-altering drug, right?
That's
and it
a
used to
lot.
be 5 to 8%. So it just more than doubled in 20 years. And I got to say, it can't be that all of a sudden all these genetically predisposed to a disease got exposed to it. It's something about our culture. It's something about poverty. It's something about
There's definitely something to that.
stress. It's something about anxiety. It's something about, here's the thing. I was told, because I'm a Gen Xer, the beginning of Gen Xers, I was told I was never going to live as well as my parents, right?
Yeah.
I was like, fuck you. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'll eat them for fucking lunch. You know what I mean? You tell millennials they're not going to live as good as their parents. They just go, I know. Like, what happened to the fuck
Okay,
you?
here we
What
go.
happened to the antisocial
Bob, hear me
kind
out.
of self-determination
I
that
want you to hear me
Americans
out.
were? Where did it go?
Here's my theory, okay? This whole thing, helicopter moms, political correctness,
Best friend parents,
Dr.
best
Seuss and his
friend
new
parents.
way of, or Dr. Spock, whatever his name is, on the new way to raise children. This is so diabolical. It is done on purpose. So when you get to the real world, you fracture because you've been told all this shit is going to happen. This is how the world works. And then you get into a den of vipers and it doesn't, you fracture. So what do? You start going to therapy, which I'm not saying therapy's bad. And then you get on prescription medication.
Prescription drugs
and
for
you are now,
anxiety.
everybody's on antidepressants because we're told if you are depressed, something's wrong with you. I take depression, anger, sadness as my body, my spirits tell me I got to mix shit up. I got to change it up because what I'm doing right now isn't right. What these kids are being told is they're perfect, everything's great, and then they get to the real world and they're told, fuck you, you don't know anything, and they can't take it. And now they're depressed because nothing they were told is real in the real world. And now they got to
Let
get
me
on
give you an
prescription
example of
medication.
that. I do a medical lecture about the amygdala in the brain gets reprioritized from habitual use of drugs. Happens, it's not that big of a deal.
Pot even?
Pot, long-term pot, but
Really?
less pot.
I don't know.
Alcohol, no, you understand. These are what is the top priority? Survival, safety, comfort, sex drive. Drugs start to reprioritize that. Right?
Right.
So it's a simple lecture. It's been around for 50 years, science. I'm doing a lecture at this rehab that I own out in Malibu, and a girl raises her hand, 19-year-old girl, and she goes, I just disagree with all that. And I retorted.
She's hot. She
I
seems really
retorted
hot.
in true punk rock fashion. Who gives a fuck what you think?
Nobody
Oh
tells
my
them
God!
that.
She started crying. All the clients aligned against me. I thought they were gonna beat me up. I had to leave the building and call my partner. I think I really fucked up tonight.
No, dude,
Right?
it's the truth. I used to take
That's that mob mentality. Instead of saying, yeah, she's kind of a smart ass, fuck her.
because everybody's trying to
They
bang
all
her,
like,
dude.
oh, we got to rescue her. Oh, yeah, they might have been that.
Yeah,
too.
they're all in the rehab. They're like, she's the only thing fucking happy here. Let me hit that shit.
Well, I'll tell you, I think what the real disease of Americans is that we don't have the ability to live in the present moment. We're constantly taught from the time we're a kid to prepare for the next moment and the next day. And, you know, there's lots of different philosophers who talk. This isn't my theory. I've heard Alan Watts talk about this and Eckhart Tolle talk about this. And it's like there's no point in making plans for the future if you're not able to live in the present. And we are not able to live in the present, right? So even when that thing comes that you've been waiting for, it feels empty because our brain isn't conditioned to know how to experience anything. Our brain is only conditioned to know how to prepare to experience something. We're always supposed to be sacrificing the present moment for a better moment in the future, which all moments are equal because the only moment you ever have is the one that's right now. Right. There is no such thing as a future moment. And that's what causes anxiety. I'm on 3 fucking blood pressure medicines. It's because I cannot not stop living in the future, and I'm trying everything I can to figure out how to be more present, how to not do that shit, because that's the key to life. And that's what psychedelics do, by the way. So they put you in touch with your senses.
Right then.
And they overwhelm your senses, so you become in that present moment, and that's where God is, right? That's when you transcend all that shit, and you find out who you really are because you're not wrapped up in the present. I mean, you're not wrapped up in the future or the past. You're right now, which is why I love being a stand-up comedian, because the only time during the day when I am present is when I'm on stage.
Yes.
I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about right fucking now.
Yes.
And I come off stage feeling alive. When I do my show in my garage for YouTube, I come off feeling drained. And I don't know why that is, but that's why I love live performing, and that's what I think. But that's the big problem, I think, with people is they're not able to live in the present moment, and all their pain is manufactured because of a story they tell themselves about a future moment in their head that's going to be unfavorable. It's all mind gymnastic. It's easy to say, it's hard to do. I can't do it.
Well, cognitive behavioral therapy says, let's go back in time. Probably your whole life, you had plans and they didn't happen, but really good shit happened. Right? Why are we so caught up? And I love this. I always say I don't have a retirement plan because I'll be dead.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
gonna
my
like,
plan. That's
I don't
my
need
plan.
$1 million because I'm just gonna spend it until I die and then that's it.
Yeah.
Like, and my friends really are worried about me. They're like, dude, come on now, don't joke around about that. You're
Yeah.
getting older. You got to think about this. I go, dude, I'm gonna work and then I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to live my whole life penny pinching and not doing fun things and
I couldn't
buying
agree
records.
more.
Fuck you. And they're going to have $1 million, live in Palm Springs, and sit around and look at the sun go down.
Yeah.
Fuck that. You know what I mean? But nothing I ever planned really worked out the way I thought it was. I became a singer in a band because a friend of mine said, we're going to start a band. You're going to be the singer. I was going to be a journalist. I'm going to SC. He goes, fuck that. Put that in the hole. Right? Greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Right.
Because I was going to go to school at USC in 1981. Journalism was dying. My great plan was to go to SC, work my ass off, spend a bunch of my family's dough, and then I'd be like millennials nowadays, living back at my parents' house. Like, oh shit, there's no jobs.
Yeah.
I became a rock singer that led to being a drug counselor and led all this weird shit. So any plans I had never worked out, right? So
There's a
don't be so
saying-
anxious that we have to plan for the future. Just embrace the fucking now and how crazy life is.
There's a saying in AA, right? It's just basically, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I think that's the biggest thing. You've been in LA a long time, How many times have you seen your friends get everything they wanted and they're still fucking miserable?
A friend of mine put a shotgun in his mouth and blew his head off.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
dude,
That's
happiness
crazy.
isn't things.
You know what everyone thought when Kurt Cobain killed himself, right? When all the friends of his and everybody who was a musician like I was and whatever, an acquaintance with him thought, yeah, if I had that shit, I wouldn't have done that. It would be different if I got what he got.
No, do you understand?
You totally can't relate. Like,
What?
he's the greatest message that fame and money doesn't mean shit if you're fucked up.
Well, let me tell you
But
something.
every fucked up person I know, including myself, thought, you know what? If that would have happened to me, I would have fucking dealt with that shit different. I would have enjoyed it.
Jimmy, what?
So the story is that never seems to sink into people is that if that's so what happens to people is they always think, well, if I achieve this goal, then I'll be happy. So I'll sacrifice or whatever. And once I get this goal, I'll be happy. They reach the goal. They're exactly the same.
Yeah.
Which is
Exactly.
disillusioning.
And then, now they don't know what to do. Well, I already have everything. And that's when they start becoming drug addicts, or that's when they start becoming sex addicts, and that's the oldest fucking story in the world. Once someone gets everything and they still feel exactly the same, external events did not change my mental conditioning, and I'm still living for this moment that's not coming. I don't know how to be here in the present moment, and that's when a lot of people turn to drugs. That's
but smart people make new goals, right?
But at some point you get burned out because those goals aren't satisfying because
Yeah,
those are
they are.
ego.
I've done it 3 times. I wanted to become a good
Yeah,
musician.
but that's you, Bob.
No, but
I mean, look at how you're dressed. You figure shit out.
No, but I'm going to tell you how to do it. Have children late in life. So I have an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. I'm 58. Like, I know what I'm doing from here on out.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't do it early on. Right? So there is something you can do to make your
the
focus
message
of your life.
isn't told them to that, dude. They're told, dude, there's people still getting married at 20 years old in this. And you're like, no one in your family? Here's a big thing,
Which
problem I have.
parent- which parent do they
Here's
move
what I have a
into?
problem with. It's like feminism, right? I love feminism. But old feminists lie to young feminists all the fucking time. When young comics come to me and they go, hey, Sam, you got any advice? I tell them, listen, this is what I did, and I'm going to tell you what successful people did. And you figure out which path is best from you. I tell them both of them. I'm a happy guy. I'm not perfect, but I'm a happy guy. I know dudes who are fucking rich as fuck, miserable, and they did it this way. I'm happy. This is how I give them both sides. We don't tell the earlier generation both sides of the argument.
Right.
We only give them the feel good. It's gonna go good. You know, my cousin, I remember when he got cut from his first team in high school, and his dad was so sad. I go, that's the best thing that ever happened to him, man. It's great to learn failure early. I am blessed in my life that I got my dick kicked in this town for the first fucking 18 years I was here. I've been here 20 years. The last 2 years have been good. The rest of it is just a fucking bunch of suits just kicking my dick in for fucking 20 years, right? But the blessings now is like when I take a loss, it does not affect me. I know people that have gotten everything they wanted and they take a loss and they don't know how to fucking handle it. We are lying to our kids. We're being told to lie to our kids that life is, the best life is a perfect life. And that's not a perfect life, dude. Life is real. Life has consequences, man. So that's why, and it's all done on purpose, man. The way we raise our kids, we're basically told us by people who are paid by these pharmaceutical companies to raise these kids this way.
Right.
Raise them to believe this. Don't hit your kids. And we don't think a smack, but a fucking spank on the butt. That's sentence. But we got that demonized. Now all dads are like, they don't want to be the bad guy anymore. My dad came in and threw me across the room when I beat my brother up, man. You're an awful father if you do that now.
This theory of what's wrong with is that people just aren't brutal enough with their kids. It's just a funny theory to me. Because I remember one time...
Not brutal. I think that's the wrong description. I think honest.
He's describing honesty, really.
So
Just honest.
Because I got fucking shit beat out of me, and it didn't make me a better person.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that. That's
I
not
went to
what I'm
Catholic
saying.
school. They hit me at school. I
But
come
dude,
home. My
I mean-
parents did this at home. We'd go to the park. Fucking other people hit me. I mean, we got fucking hit everywhere.
So I'm not saying that, Jimmy. I'm not
Well,
saying
I'll
hit
tell
your
you one
kids.
thing that
what
I'm-
I'm saying is discipline.
Like everybody getting the first place trophy.
Yeah, that's just.
Well, that's
we're
shit
leading
like that.
it into
But
just
I
like
do this.
that.
I do this with my children. Like my son come up to me and tell me something. I say, nobody gives a fuck. You say that to an 8-year-old, they're like, whoa, that's fucking true.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever. The best thing I ever learned
You don't
in
have
AA.
to hit them. You just have to fuck with them.
The best thing I ever learned in AA was that nobody's thinking about me. And it
Yeah.
sounds like such a fucking lonely thing,
that's
but it's the best thing. I used to think there were
Imagine-
shadow people out there trying to hold me back because I was so good. They didn't want Triple E to fucking get it. And when I got in AA and they made me do my list of shit, all the resentments I had, what do they all have in common? I go, I don't know. You motherfucker. You're the one that's in the fucking, I go, holy holy shit. And then I looked at my dad, and my dad, God bless him, not a perfect man, but went to war with everybody. And I remember even as a kid going, my dad go, Dad, you can't fight everybody. And then I go, I'm turning into my father.
Right.
Okay?
That's
because
frightening.
I'm blaming everybody for and not looking at my role in shit. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying go and punch your kid in the face and all of a sudden you're a good parent.
Right.
But there's like, dude, this notion that everybody wins and like,
No,
and
that's
if
a
you're
bad
not
idea.
winning,
I think that's
you're
a bad
losing.
idea.
And it's
You have to teach people how to accept failure, and failure will often, give you the impetus to become better or do better. But what did you go to AA for? Was it for drinking?
Dude, I'm the reason why they started charging comics for drinks at the Comedy Store. I went really hard in the paint. I used to think that life was all about the greatest stories ever, right?
Did you live in the sober living house up the street
No,
behind there?
dude, I've never gone.
She had a sober living, Mitzi?
No, but not when I was there.
Oh,
She'd
okay.
already moved on from that.
She gave up on that.
Yeah, she's like, I can't save you, motherfuckers.
So what? So it was drinking?
Drinking cocaine.
Oh, cocaine's making a comeback.
Cocaine hasn't gone anywhere. They're just not telling you about it. That's what I'm like, is anyone doing coke at the store? And they're like, yeah, everybody's on coke.
And
I'm
they've
like,
been
really?
doing it.
I never did coke. I mean, I did it like 3 times in college, but it's just I had so many bad examples in my neighborhood growing up. Like everybody was either a cop or a criminal where I grew up, and you see the guys, the drug dealers. It's just like amazing. I would get up to go do brickwork at 7 in the morning in the garage where we kept our shit. It was right across the street from this park that had a payphone. This before cell phones, and you'd see 3 or 4 guys standing around the payphone at like 6, 7 in the morning, waiting for a call because they're trying to get call. I'm like, man, I'll never fucking be one of those guys. Thank God I didn't.
Yeah.
It's just now it's bad. I don't think people realize that cocaine is very dangerous. It's very
You
dangerous.
can Venmo now.
Yeah,
Even more dangerous.
Yeah.
You can just Venmo that shit straight. You don't even gotta go to the ATM no more. You're just like, here.
Yeah, but they got fentanyl in them too.
Yeah.
Oh, and that comes from where?
Did you hear
China.
About, you hear about the
What is that?
Channel 5 news guy?
What is
Did you
fentanyl?
hear about that?
Oh, yeah, that
Oh
story's
my
so
God.
sad,
The
dude.
guy
What?
thought he was doing meth. He was doing fentanyl. He
What is
died.
it? What is fentanyl?
No,
It's
is
like-
that the story? Because
Yeah.
I heard he did so much, and the story's just nuts. You
Well,
didn't
the
hear
story of what happened.
Oh, my
we can, that's a whole nother show.
Okay.
There was a lot of sex involved in
But
all
explain
kinds
to
of
him what
stuff.
fentanyl is.
Mass
But it was
fisting.
fentanyl. So fentanyl is
What is that fisting
fentanyl
about?
is 100 times stronger than OxyContin.
Whoa.
Then there's a thing called carfentanil that is 1,000 times stronger than fentanyl. So a little granule can kill you.
Oh wow.
And that's why where they break this stuff up, they were doing it in like crack motels, the old crack motels on Beach Boulevard in Huntington Beach. And the whole place, everybody died. The police responders came and they died.
Really?
They overdosed from coming in contact with it.
Really?
You haven't heard about this?
No.
Yeah.
I never heard
It's
that.
called carfentanil. It's even stronger. It's crazy because the opiate demand in America is so widespread and so desperate because
we're in end stage capitalism.
the Chinese just started saying, we got this shit that's really strong. We should get it over there.
Well,
That's why I say there's a lot of people at the table. There's there's Wall Street. There's the gangs and Crips and Hell's Angels ain't going anywhere. Now the Chinese are coming in. The Mexicans are in. El Chavo's in.
El Chapo
Right.
was a district manager, dude.
Right?
That's all
So
it
they're
was,
all
dude.
at the table
CIA.
trying to distribute this hopelessness. That's what I really do believe we need. Hope, and not in a corny way. Like I really was disappointed in Obama. I just thought he was the biggest disappointment. Hope in a real way where people love each other and mentor kids in your neighborhood, right? My dad died when I was 15. Like 3 other guys stepped in. What the fuck happened to that world that we used to live in?
We don't get taught that anymore.
Well, I think he'll get sued. People are worried they'll get sued.
Well, that's another point.
You know
Well,
what I
those
mean?
guys. Well, right now, those 3 guys who would step in are now working 2 or 3 jobs.
Right, they don't have
They
the
don't
time.
have the time to do
coach
that shit.
And
the
that's
coach.
another thing that I think is a huge point. I mean, like, it's so, you realize, like, they got this thing thought so much, right? Here's the plan.
Slave
Pull out
labor.
economics, right? Now you got no economics. Flood it with drugs, right? Am I talking about fucking Inglewood, or am I talking about upstate New York right now? Pull out the jobs. Flood the area with drugs. Get the dads hooked up. Pull the dads and the moms out of the
Right.
family. Nobody's raising the kids anymore.
You see that?
And no, what's this?
Carfentanil.
So it goes from heroin to fentanyl to carfentanil on like how much stronger it is.
Look at it. It's twice
Like
as
how much
strong.
power you need to get that high.
Carfentanil is
Like
crazy.
there's like one dot in
Have
there.
you heard of why we have fentanyl? It's because that's how the Chinese are getting us back for the heroin epidemic,
I'm
which
sure.
I was telling us about before. The British India Trade Company flooded China with heroin, and that's how they made all their money. They made so much money on selling opium in China, and that the emperor was like, enough, and he made it a capital punishment to sell.
Well, wasn't there a thing called the Opium
Wars, yeah.
Yeah, that's what this is all
That's what he's
part of.
talking about.
Oh, okay.
Dude, do you know Vietnam was not about stopping communism?
No, that's what Bill Maher says.
It was about the poppy fields of Vietnam.
No, Bill Maher's never wrong.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I mean, everything's based on drugs. I mean, I think people always fight over all this shit. I think the only thing that matters, I call it God. Gold, oil, drugs, and sex trafficking are the biggest trillionaire money
Look
makers.
at Venezuela right now, right? So did I didn't know until recently that Venezuela has twice the amount of oil that
Saudi Arabia has.
And when
You didn't know what? That's why they're down there.
and when I found that out, I knew we had to bring democracy to their people.
I know.
Yeah.
But the Russians and Chinese want to bring pseudo-capitalist communism to.
Well, because it's either they give in to the capitalists or they give in to the Chinese and the Russians. Like they're fucked either way right now.
Oh, they're
right?
fucked. And that handsome dude's going to be the leader
Juan
of it all.
Guaido.
No, they banned him from. They banned him.
The people
What?
are not on the side.
Yeah.
See, the internet happened.
He
and
looks
people,
like Beto O'Rourke, doesn't he? He looks like the
Yes, he does.
Argentinian version
Yeah.
of Beto O'Rourke.
He
Yeah,
does.
Beto
But there's
O'Rourke.
what people don't realize. There's also
Guy couldn't beat a serial killer. Ted Cruz made jokes about being a serial killer to be a more likable person.
So there's a legacy of colonialism in Venezuela, just like in the United
Right.
States, where you have racism in
Brazil,
the United
too.
States. So they have it there too. And right now, so the people rose up in '98 and they elected their own person, right?
Yeah.
And ever since then, the capitalists have been, and they're all white. And they've been trying to fucking get it back. And so they did in 2002, kind of, for a little while. They pulled off a coup, short-lived. And so that's what this is all about. This is about capitalists trying to get the oil. And did you know that there's a refinery? So why do they want to build that Keystone Pipeline? So they want to take those dirty tar sands and they want to bring it down. Why? Because there's a refinery down there that refines that dirty fucking oil. And the only place they could get it before was from Venezuela. And Venezuela knew it. So they were charging them a premium for their oil, their dirty oil, because they knew they had them over a barrel because of the Keystone Pipeline wasn't getting built. So that's also has to do with why we're going into Venezuela right now. The American people have no idea what's going on.
But here's
and
the
they go,
deal.
well, look at how look how the people are poor. Look at how the people. I go, if you want to see poor people, look out your fucking window.
Yeah.
There's a tent city. If you wanted to help people, you don't have to go to another country or another fucking continent. There's more poor people in the United States than there are people in Venezuela.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, dude. Couldn't agree more. And when you don't play ball with the world banking system, they have a system intact to choke you out. And they're eating their pets.
No, they're
because we
choking
won't-
them out.
Yep.
So, for instance, the UK, since they won't give the oil to BP, the UK won't give them their gold. The Venezuelans, they have billions of dollars in gold. They just said, "Fuck you, we're not giving it to you." So that's how they're crippling them. And the economic sanctions that the United States is putting on Venezuela, it's not there to bring democracy to the people. It's there for the same reason they put sanctions on every country. It's because we want to bring that country to its knees so we can topple their government and install a puppet, just like we did in Iran, just like we did in Iraq, just like Libya, just like we're trying to do in Syria, Afghanistan. Now we're doing it in Venezuela, Honduras. It's the oldest fucking story in the book, and they hired the exact guys to do it. Donald Trump said he was going to drain the swamp. He put Elliot Abrams and John Bolton,
Couldn't agree more.
couldn't be swampier motherfuckers in the world. Literal war criminals he put in his cabinet so they can go do this in Venezuela at the behest of oil companies.
Yeah, and everybody wants to. I listen, dude. I'm a conspiracy theorist, and saying Donald Trump is part of the system, I could lose a ton of listeners, and I get it. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But, dude, this is the exact same playbook that Bill Clinton had. I said it on your show. If you look at their administration, there's so many similarities, dude. The whole FISA report, the whole wiretapping thing. I think that's all scripted, man.
So Donald Trump came in the office, and he literally was a non-interventionist, and he was saying a lot of shit that pissed off the permanent state. People call it the deep state. I call it the permanent state, the people that are always there, actually run our foreign policy. And he was getting reckless. He was going to fuck up their regime change wars, and he was going to fuck up their weapons sales. And they got his mind right, and that's what that dossier was. That dossier was them fucking, we're going to do this shit until you get your mind right. And Trump got his fucking mind right.
Yeah, dude. He 100%. There's been assassination attempts. His daughter, I mean, she's married to the Benedict Arnold of our generation. It's either John Brennan or fucking Kushner are the biggest traitors I've ever seen. Ever. And it's just, they're playing at problems. They had to land. They're like, dude, this is going to be the whole time you're here. And he's just, boom.
So when he bombed Syria, that was his signal that he was starting to get his mind right.
Yeah, he's cooperating.
That he is starting to go along. And so, okay, maybe we'll have the Mueller report come out and nobody will be indicted if you bomb the right people and you help us in Venezuela. That's exactly what's going on. I mean, this isn't a conspiracy. This is how this shit works. I have the videotape of them selling us into the first Gulf War. Do you remember how they did that? They had the Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter testify in front of Congress that the Iraqi soldiers were going into their hospitals and nurseries and taking babies out of cribs and throwing them on the floor, and they were dying. And that turned America. America was against the first Gulf War until that happened, and then it flipped, and we invaded. And so they got public support, and it's the exact fucking same thing they're doing
Syria,
now.
Same thing in Syria.
And the same thing in Syria. They got some little girl who's 7 years old who's tweeting in English and doesn't even have fucking internet access. It's just crazy, right? So he's gassing his own people as he's winning the war.
How come you guys? This happened to me in 2001. I was obsessed with bin Laden. I read 2 books about him. I was just like, if you'll make a note, all these kind of radical guys are trust fund babies.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
Carlos the Jackal was a trust fund. Che Guevara's a trust fund. Bin Laden's a trust fund. How is it that they come from the elite world to cause all this havoc?
They're controlled opposition, dude. They're done.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
all play ball.
Exactly.
Okay, so here's a very interesting thing. On the assassination of JFK, George Bush was in Dallas. He denied that forever. All these documents were released, and it puts him right there in Dallas. On 9/11, we'll say 9/10, the Bilderberg Group was holding a meeting in New York City. Do you know who they were celebrating? The guest of honor was the Bin Laden family. Guess who was there? George Bush Sr. was there. And they were all there, just like they were for the assassination of JFK, to watch a big event that was about to go down. And who are the only people allowed to fly on 9/11? The Bin Laden family. If you don't think this is all, like, dude, when he said the JFK, that was a that was a coup, dog. That was a coup, and that was the starting of down this road we're in right now that everybody thinks is permanent. I'd like to think that hope against hope that there's a chance it's going to stay, but this is all done on purpose. Someone just put out, dude, there's this video out there that every president except for one is related. Everybody they ran against was their eighth cousin. They're all related, dude. They're all related.
You're getting excited.
That's all I do. I yell on this show.
But what I'm saying is, after 9/11, all my friends wanted to bomb the Middle East. Like, these are liberal rock musicians and screenwriters. I'm like, what the fuck is going on around me?
Isn't that weird?
This is madness. I decided to just opt out and care about my town. I'm not an American. I'm a Los Angelian. I was born here. This is where I care about the kids in Watts. I care about the kids in Echo Park. I care about people in Claremont. I care about my neighbors. That's fucking it.
Yeah.
The rest of the shit can go up like a brick shit house. I don't care.
It is.
And that's the truth. And I started focusing in AA on people that I knew and try to help them get sober and when you're purposeful in changing things around you,
yes,
the rest of the world can be what I believe it is. And I know this is going a little batty today, but I believe that we're right about 50% of this. That it's absolutely spot on. It's a conspiracy. It's skull and crossbones. It's the Bushes. It's the Clintons. It's a conspiracy. But within the conspiracy, they're not controlling me. I can live my independent life around the people that I can influence and help, and that's what I try to do. That really works for me because I don't watch the news. I don't care about the news.
Yeah, you're smart. I mean, when they say the plane's going down, what do they say? Say put on your oxygen mask first before you help anybody else. You have to take care of yourself before you can help those around you, and that's just the truth, man. I mean, like, I can get really depressed when I look around at like everything going on. We're bombing the fuck out of everybody. We are the new Nazis, man. And there's going to be a time to pay for that, man. It's like it's going to be a time where the story will be written about the United States and how we terrorize the rest of the world. And people don't want to think about that because we get sold. I'm pretty sure in Nazi Germany, they were being told the same thing. We are going to go liberate everybody from the Rothschilds. We're going to do all this shit. It's just fun. You know, Israel. Everybody gets mad at Israel. I guarantee you the propaganda going on in Israel, because Israel's just from L.A. down to San Diego. And
That's
the amount
what
of money
most
that
people
gets
don't realize.
pumped into there. And just the message of propaganda is these people hate you. Everybody hates you. The fucking Palestinians hate you. Blah, blah, blah. It's easy to demonize. I mean, you talk to Israel. They're like, fucking Palestinians are dog. Because they've been indoctrinated into this way of thinking. The same thing with us, where we hated all these Muslims.
So when do you think? So there's no doubt. It's amazing the magic trick they pulled off. 18 hijackers funded by Saudi Arabia.
Went to a strip joint. They went to a strip joint the night before and used their credit card, by the way.
You're gonna die. You have to.
and so so they do this. And now we're spending $715 billion a year to bomb the world. And what's amazing to me, and the
amazing investment.
Amazing, right? I mean, we're going to end the same way all empires end, as we overextend ourselves militarily, and that's exactly what. While people at home are dying on OxyContin and heroin because they got no jobs here, and the guy Jack Ma, who runs the Alibaba, which is the Amazon for Asia, and he said, it's funny to watch Americans get angry at China. He says, this isn't our system. This is your system. You're the ones who decided to outsource all your jobs to our country. We didn't make you do that.
Nobody wants to claim responsibility for that nowadays. I notice.
He said, Al Gore, and he said, imagine what your country would look like if instead in the last 20 years would you spend $15 trillion bombing people? If you would have spent $15 trillion investing in your own people, that's what you're supposed to be doing with your money. And the United States doesn't invest in their own people, and now they want to blame the rest of the world, just like they're blaming Russia for.
I'm shocked he would be that honest.
He was. Russia didn't make 80% of workers in the United States live paycheck to paycheck. Russia didn't make 30 million Americans not have health care in America, and that's why you got fucking Donald Trump. It's got nothing to do with Russia. That is another big smokescreen, just like every other bullshit smokescreen we got. WMDs is Russiagate is the new WMDs, and it's a distraction from people's real problems. And my question is, they don't even talk about the yellow vests here in the United States. So it's going on 6 months of nonstop rioting in France, and they already have health care, and they already have free college and dental, and they're fucking rioting. So at some point it's going to happen in the United States where when you got nothing to lose, and that shit is coming soon. Because when I get on stage in fucking Burbank, California, which is not Hollywood, by the way, Burbank, California is where they play Bill O'Reilly's tour on video when he comes to the movie theater. Okay, so in Burbank, California, and I talk about this shit on stage, and those people are standing up for me right now. Those aren't people who listen to my show. I go on a Saturday night, they don't know I'm coming, and I get in there and I go, they don't think you should have health care, and people start fucking screaming. And I go, the guy who runs Starbucks right now is going to run for president because he's a billionaire, tells you can't have health care. I go, why is it every other industrialized country has figured out how to give each other health care, and they also figured out how to make better fucking coffee than Starbucks? Something about countries that give their people health care, they don't have to add pumpkin spice to their fucking coffee. And when I say this in Burbank, people get up on their feet. And when I would make fun of Obama, people would look at me like I was stabbing Santa Claus.
Right.
But now they're starting to get it. Now they're starting, I go, it used to be, when everybody got mad at Trump, because when Barack Obama was president, there was this big gap between what Barack Obama was doing and what people thought he was doing.
Yeah.
And now when Trump is president, there's no gap. People know exactly what the government is doing, right? So when Trump banned all the Muslims at the airport, people got upset. They're like, you can't ban them at the airport. I go, why do you think there's refugee Muslims at the airport? Because Barack Obama bombed them for 8 fucking years.
Yes.
What does he have to do? Bomb them at the airport for you people to notice? And when I get to that point in the fucking show, people stand up and start cheering. They're fucking getting it now.
Yeah,
and I go, they say, oh, but look at Trump's putting the immigrants in cages. Barack Obama built those cages. Trump is gassing the immigrants at the border. So did Barack Obama gas the immigrants, and they should be honored that they were gassed by the lesser of two evils.
Yes. Look at Mexicans, dude. Do you think they want to come here, dude?
No.
They love living in Mexico. We've just destabilized that place with the drug war.
With the drug war, for sure.
We've done it, man. And when I say we're the new Nazis, we're the new Nazis. And there's going to be a day that we're going to pay for this because, you know, it's the old saying, like, what's it? Atrocities happen when good men say nothing. Is that I butchered that, but basically, dude, everybody's.
All it takes for evil to persist is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah, and that's why I shout, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I tried. You called me a crazy fucking person, but I fucking tried to tell you all of this was going on.
People would tell me when I would go to comedy clubs and Russiagate was happening, I go, well, when the Mueller report comes out, there's going to be nobody indicted because Russia didn't have anything to do with this. And they go, how do you know that? Well, because I interviewed the top code breaker from the NSA, Bill Binney, who they tried to put in fucking prison for telling the truth about the crimes that are being committed by the NSA. That's how, because if that fucking happened, if Russia hacked into the DNC server, there would be receipts. They would have the evidence because the NSA have a copy of every fucking thing that happens on the internet. And the fact that they didn't reveal that shows that it didn't happen because they don't have the evidence. So I knew that, and now after the point, I saw Flip Schultz the other night. He's like, remember you were saying that about how he goes, you were right. I look fucking right. I was right.
Dude, I came on your show. I told you Carter Page was a plant. I told you fucking
dude. They couldn't even get Carter fucking Page.
Yeah.
They couldn't even get Carter Page.
Yeah, dude. It's all theater, bro. I think it's all theater. Do you remember
Carter Page is from the Comedy Store in the late 90s. I remember him too.
Fucking Papadopoulos, not one of those stupid motherfuckers. Do you know how bad it was that after Trump won the election, fucking Putin asked somebody, how do we get a hold of them? They didn't even know how to they didn't have a contact. No, they were so not in contact with anyway, so that's just the world we're living in now, right? So Chris Hedges wrote a book called America, the Farewell Tour, and he went from city to city where capitalism has pulled the rug out from underneath people, meaning like you go to Rockford, Illinois, and so as soon as the big employer decides to take his company to Mexico, everybody's fucked. And what do? They build a bigger prison. That's exactly what they fucking did.
And they flooded with drugs.
And they did that in Flint. They did that in Rock. And they're doing it that's what's. And now municipalities, instead of taxing people and taxing corporate, they're starting to sell off the things that sustain capitalism, which is their fucking infrastructure, which is their waterworks and sewer systems and all that, and the power, all that shit. And so now this is what's happening, is what Marx said, is capitalism is now eating itself. It's now eating the thing that sustains it. And we're just about the end of the empire. It's happening. It's coming quickly.
Yeah. But not just America. Capitalism as a whole.
It's failing worldwide.
I don't believe there's nations. I believe, like John Lennon, imagine there's no countries. There are no countries. There's just corporations, and there's kind of families, and there's relationships.
Someone sounds like they wear a tinfoil hat. Huh?
Well, this is what Howard Beale. Who told us this in what was that movie?
Oh, Network.
There are no countries.
That was in
There's only
1976, dude.
It's how prescient.
Think about that.
Yeah,
dude. And they guess fighting with each other. I got in a lot of trouble after Roseanne put out that stupid tweet, and it was a stupid tweet.
What tweet?
About the Planet of the Apes.
That was a Xanax tweet.
It's stupid. But the woman she did the tweet about was a huge part of the decision to assassinate Muammar Gaddafi, which led to open-air slave trades. And I go, you guys are defending a woman that is part of a decision that has Africans being sold for $400, okay? And I got murdered for that. I just got thrown in Twitter jail because they put there was a video of this black midget beating this woman with a belt. And I go, if I was there, I would have curb stomped that midget. And they said what I would do was inciting riot and being disrespectful. I'm talking about the guy who's beating a woman in a video, right? Now we're getting to the point where words are worse than actions.
Right.
And that's all part
But it's
of
the two
system.
teams. It's the two teams. Sports does play into all this. People like rooting for a team. They like rooting for a president. Obama's my guy. Trump is your guy. I don't like your guy. It's like the playoffs, the basketball playoffs. And now it's fascism, which I believe is code word for Democrats. It's fascism. You can't say things. You have to say things the right way. Or oligarchy, like Republicans are like this.
Well, the problem is,
so you got a choice between being a serf or being executed for saying the wrong thing.
Here's the problem.
Welcome to America.
The problem is this: the people are telling us that we can't say this, can't say that. These are the trust fund kids of the fucking oligarchy. Okay. Same things happen in Israel. Where's the liberal part of Israel? Got drowned out, got ran out, got hijacked. The liberalism has been hijacked by the fucking children of the people who have created all the problems.
Right, I can get that.
Let me. I say this on my show a lot. I think it's worth saying at the end here is that if you think about this, the Democratic leadership, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they are to the right of Trump voters. They are not the left. They are corporatist fascists because Nancy Pelosi is not for Medicare for all. Republicans are for single payer, the majority. They are also for a Green New Deal. They're also for ending the wars. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi are literally to the right, politically thinking, than Trump voters. Not Trump, because Trump is getting his mind right, but they're to the right of Trump supporters. Think about how fucked up that is. And now you understand why 80% of the workers in America live paycheck to paycheck.
Right?
You know, liberalism hasn't destroyed this country. Greed has destroyed this country. Greed, not enough dollars, you can't have all of it. Dude, if they brought back all the jobs, people would be able to buy more stuff. And like, who knows? Guys, it's been a great show. I appreciate you both coming on.
Thanks for having
I'd
me.
love to have you back.
Thanks for having me,
Jimmy.
Sam.
I'm sorry about the...
Even if it was a mix-up, it worked out.
It was a lot of fun. It was great. XG, thank you guys so
course,
much.
yeah.
I appreciate everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Bye.